Yay Networks.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Life with the Lindseys. My name is Heather.
And what's up, yo? This your boy, Cornelius.
Yes, I'm so excited you landed on our podcast, and your life is pretty much going to be changed.
Yes, man. If you're looking for something real, relevant, and authentic, then you landed on the right place. Hey, here's the thing. We about to get going right now, so y'all tune in, buckle up, sit back, get ready for the show. Here we go. What up, good people? Yo, this your boy, Cornelius. Yo, I wish I was with my wife right now, but it's just going to be me today. You know, welcome to Life with the Lindseys. Thank y'all always for kicking it with us. My wife is away right now. She's enjoying herself. And so I'm going to rock out with this. And I was like, what am I going to talk about? And I figured, hey, why don't we talk about rejection? You know, I can at least give you a perspective as a husband and a father. I can talk about, rejection, like how that built into my soul. I was like embedded into my soul as a single, and then how that began to affect me and my marriage. And prayerfully, if you're single, you're listening to this, you can get something out of it. And if you're married, you listen to this, you can get something out of it. If you're a wife, you listen to this, maybe I can verbalize something and verbalize a way that maybe your husband may have felt, or maybe you've listened to our podcast before and you're like, I feel like I'm more like Cornelius, and I was more like Heather, different personalities, whatever it is. And maybe I can kind of add some type of verbiage to your pain, or verbiage to your process to help your spouse or your partner, whatever it is, be able to understand you a little bit better. Hope I can do that. But anyway, rejection, y'all. So like when you think about rejection, I don't think we think about the deep impact that rejection actually has on our life. And rejection can be defined as the act of pushing someone or something away. And, there's many different places of origin that we can feel rejected. I mean, you can feel rejected by your family. You can feel rejected by community. There is a such thing as social rejection. You can feel rejected by someone that you once loved. Maybe you have an ex, or you've been divorced, or you were in a long distance relationship and now the relationship is over. Whatever it is, somebody that you once loved, you can feel rejected by them. You can feel rejected by your skin color, your hair type, your dialect, your likes, your dislikes. You can. Some people also feel rejected by God. So there are many different types of rejection. All of them really flow, I think, from the same river. But we have to talk about like what those different types of rejection, what they look like, and why it's so important to talk about rejection. So like for my own life, if you listen to any of Life with the Lenses, my wife and I are very transparent, very open about a great deal of our lives. And the reason why we do that is because, we want to be able to help other people, because it's not, we want to be honest. We want to just be honest. This is what has happened. And, we don't give you guys everything. I think we probably give you guys maybe 20%, but, that 20% we give you, we feel like it's a lot, but nonetheless, I felt rejected. I felt rejected as a kid, and especially like kind of growing up in a community where, I'm gonna be honest. If you grew up in a Southern Black community, maybe you'd be able to understand what I'm saying. And some of you white folk and some of you Asians, I can't speak to your community because I don't know. I'm a Southern Mississippi Black boy, but nevertheless, I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, and in a community, it was like one of those type of communities where it was always joning. I don't know if y'all used to joan on each other, but it was a joan session. And growing up a short, chubby boy who was made fun of because of his weight, it was like when I went over and saw my aunts, and she would look at me and say, damn, baby, your titty's bigger than mine. And I'm just like, like, God, dog, auntie. But it was like, it was that constant prodding and prodding. And then it was like, the little jokes. And they used to call me Butterball. And I wore this like red shirt to school, and they called me Kool-Aid Man. And, I was chunky. I was a very, very chunky kid. And, because of that, I felt extremely rejected. I didn't have a lot of friends. Growing up, I didn't, it wasn't like, I was like, the ladies' man. If that wasn't me, I had like, this one girl that I really, really liked. And, and then, when she rejected me, it's like, it just added on to the wound that, nobody wants you and nobody wants to be around you. So that rejection wound was there, and it was there, as a child, just kind of growing up in
growing up in my household, just feeling that sense of rejection and allowing for that rejection. It just really kind of festered. It never really left. I always felt like I'm not wanted, and I'm not wanted. I'm not needed. I was just completely just destabilized. And that was as a kid. And then, I go to high school, and my freshman year of high school, I feel rejected because I'm coming from Mississippi. My parents had just moved to Georgia, and we moved to Riverdale, Georgia, from this little small town in Mississippi. So I went from a school that was mostly all white to a school the school that was in Riverdale, Georgia, that was all black. And I think we only had like 2 or 3 white people, which was a complete, it was just a big change for me. And then, seeing being in this type of black culture, which was even different than the black culture that I was in Mississippi. It was just extremely different. It was just really, really different. And so I get to school, my 9th grade school year, and I mean, they're making fun of me because, at that time I was wearing boot cut jeans, and they're like, who wear boot cut jeans? And I wore boots, and they're like, who? And I wasn't dressing like the kids, because they had Jabot jeans. Remember the Jabot jeans? They had Jabot jeans, and they had like the long white tees. Back then when they wore like the 3 and 4 and 5X tees, and when all that stuff was cool, they had the cool shoes and all that kind of stuff. It was a more urban type of environment, where I grew up in a more country style environment. I grew up around, little white boys. They were racist now. They'll call you in a heartbeat, but they were racist. But I grew up around these little white boys. I couldn't play with them outside of school. I couldn't talk to them outside of school, but those are people who are around. And then the black kids who were around, it was more of a country hood type thing. If you kind of understand where I'm going with that. So I get to Riverdale, Georgia, and it's just a complete culture shock. So I feel rejected. I feel rejected by the students. I don't feel like I belong. Some of these kids have known each other from elementary and middle school. So here I come as the new kid. They start me off in remedial English. I was in a classroom full of kids, and this is no exaggeration, who, when the teacher told us to read out loud, I was the only kid in the class who could read out loud. And after the class, she called me up to her desk. She said, "Why are you in my class?" She's like, "You need to get out of my class. You need to be in the other class." So, they booed me out of her class, moved me into English, and I ended up going to honors English, AP, so on and so forth. But, even then, it's like, I had this sense of rejection. And it's interesting because when I went from high school I became class president and all those things. And you'll say, well, I guess you didn't feel so rejected because people voted for you and all that kind of stuff. And it was really like I swallowed most of the feelings of how I felt. And I kind of bulldozed my way through. But one thing we don't realize about rejection is that rejection really destabilizes a very important need that I believe we all have. And that is a need to belong. Like when you feel the rejection from family, it is a very sharp pain. And the reason why it is so sharp is because we desire to belong somewhere. We want to be able to belong, like to say, this is my family. And when your mother and your father forsakes you, or just your mother forsakes you, or your father forsakes you, it's almost like, well, where do I belong? When your siblings, when they reject, you're like, where the heck do I belong? So you're trying to belong, and you don't even know where you belong. And we all desire to belong. We all desire that. We all desire to know what is my place in your life? Where do I stand in your life? How do you see me in your life? How do I do this? And that's one of the biggest, the foundational principles of church. Now, nowadays with church culture, church culture has become more about the experience and about how many people come and how many people they say got saved and how many people did this and how many people did that. But that was never the core foundation of the church. The core foundation of the church was always community. It was always about belonging. It was always about coming, let's sit together. No matter who you are, let's sit together. Let's eat together. They went from house to house and shared things and shared teachings and shared encouragement. That was the core principle of church. So we all have a desire to belong, and rejection, it destabilizes our need to belong. Ultimately, because we are not destabilized, guess how we feel? We feel extremely disconnected. Then when we feel disconnected, what happens? Now we experience a very, very real emotional pain. And that pain is so so hard. It's like you're trying your best not to internalize it, but you literally feel like, dang, like I feel disconnected. Nobody wants me. Obviously, my family doesn't want me. You feel the sting of social rejection. I mean, if we could just talk about that for a minute, social rejection hurts like you have never, ever seen it before. And for many people, they cannot get away from it. Why? Because of social media. Social rejection is a really, really big one that we deal with today. And now, I mean, while we're talking about rejection, I think that it's important that you can find you somebody, who you could sit down and who you could talk with, because that's extremely important. And while we're talking about rejection, I'm very thankful, for one of our sponsors who is sponsored for this podcast, Better Help. Better Help. Let me break this down for you. When you're asking the question, where do I go to get the professional help that I need from a licensed therapist? There is no other place that I can know of except BetterHelp. And you have heard my wife and I talk about BetterHelp over and over and over and over and over again. Our sponsor, BetterHelp, they provide a vast network of licensed professional therapists who can assist you in different things of life, where it relates to grief, family, you're having problems sleeping, you have some type of childhood trauma, you're going through things in your life. You're trying to navigate the past while also trying to understand your future. I'm telling you, BetterHelp has a network of professionals who can assist you. Now, my wife and I, we have talked about therapy over and over and over again. Not only have I gone through therapy, but I've also sent people through BetterHelp, and they have been able to get the professional help that they need. And then here's some great things. I have a couple of people who they go and they sign up and they can get the financial aid that they need, because most people assume that this is going to be too expensive for me. Let me tell you something. Your mental health is important, and you need to value your mental health. If you can afford a designer bag, well, nowadays, heck, not a designer bag. If you can afford to fill up your gas tank all the way, you can afford to get therapy. Now, BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat only therapy sessions, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Now, listen, our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Lindseys. That's BetterHelp, HELP, better, BETTER, HELP.com/Lindseys. And that's LINDSEYS. So again, go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lindseys, and make sure you're today. But we're talking about social rejection. I mean, social media is full of it. I mean, so nowadays you feel rejected. Let's just say, you go on to Facebook, and and you're Auntie done posted that picture from Thanksgiving finally, and it's Thanksgiving happened in November, and here we go in July, and she finally posted a little ugly picture. But now the picture's up, and then somebody don't like it, and now you go back to go visit, or maybe you didn't like it because maybe you saw it and you thought, oh my goodness, I can't stand this picture. You still love Auntie, but I don't really care about this picture. So then you scroll past it. Well, Auntie takes notice of it because Auntie's sitting there on Facebook and she's looking at it because Auntie retired and Auntie got time to sit on Facebook, and Auntie's looking at it and she's looking at everybody who liked her picture, and she's noticing that you didn't like her picture. So now Auntie is pissed off and Auntie is mad. And now you come over to go visit Auntie and Uncle, and Auntie looking at you like, I don't want you to come in my house, because Auntie feels rejected by you. She feels disconnected. She feels that sense of emotional pain, which triggers that same place in our brain as physical pain. So Auntie's pissed off. So now you have that sense of social rejection that now comes from a completely technological world where, we have these quote unquote friends and followers. It's not, I mean, in many cases it is very real, but in many cases it is just not real. But that rejection is extremely, extremely, extremely serious. And people are dealing with the rejection that's coming from an ex, or your divorcee, or whatever it may be. Like, you have this rejection that you feel, and you're trying to figure out how in the world do I let out the emotions? How in the world do I deal with the fact that I feel rejected by somebody who I was with? This person rejected me. This person ran off with somebody else. This person came and gave me flowers one week, and the next week said, I don't want to be with you, and then walked away. And you have those very, very real feelings that feels like somebody came and punched you in your gut, and you don't know what to do with those feelings. You have that feeling of trying to figure out, okay, where did the friendship go? And maybe you had that one great friend, and you're like, but what happened to the friendship? Why do I feel rejected by this person? And then the one question that I had to ask myself over and over again was, why in the heck am I so bothered by this? Like, why am I so bothered by the fact that somebody did not, invite me to this? Or why in the fact that you didn't invite me, but you invited them? Why do I feel like why am I so bothered by the fact that, that something happened over here? Why am I so bothered by it? And the reason being is because one of our core needs is our desire to feel as though we belong. Nobody warned me that I would feel the sting of rejection, y'all, as a father. So my wife and I, we get married, and I already had a big wound of rejection, a huge wound of rejection, where I did not feel as if I didn't feel as if I was enough for anyone or anything. And so I'm already dealing with rejection in my marriage, where my wife is like, she's like, dude, I don't reject you. And she would tell me that over and over again. But I would just be like, nope. I always had this thing up in my head, like, nope, because, one day you're going to reject me. So I'm going to reject you before you reject me. It was always that. It was so I had this unhealthy view of it. But nevertheless, we're married, and we're having, we had our first kid, Logan. And, I was so excited because I was like, yo, this is my little boy, yo. And then he comes out, he's looking just like me. And I'm like, yo, this is my chance. Like, this is my guy. This is my homie. Like, we're going to be kicking it. And, when he's younger, when they're babies, they go for their mom. Like my boys, even Taylor, because, Heather was breastfeeding. So of course they went to where the food was. But then I felt like, Taylor, even as a toddler even as an infant, would still want to come to me, and she felt comfortable with me. As a little girl, but because at that time I only had a little boy, I didn't have anything to gauge it by. So I'm just like, why does he doesn't feel comfortable with me at all? And he always wants you. And then when he's growing up, he's starting to crawl, he's starting to walk, but he wants his mama. It's like I pick him up. He wants me to carry him and do all the hard stuff for him. And then he goes over to his mama for all the comfort and for all the cuddles and for all the holding and all that kind of stuff. And I remember being so pissed off and telling my wife, I was like, yo, I feel so freaking rejected by this kid. And nobody prepared me for the fact that I feel rejected by him. That this is the kid to whom, I went half on a baby with you, and I don't feel like he wants me. And people would say, oh, don't worry about it, Cornelius, because when he gets older, then you're going to be the favorite. And now I look back and I'm like, you're right. Like right now, my son, he comes, he talks to me, like that's like my son, that's my best friend. Like that's my little homie. All my kids are in their own way. But I still felt the sting of rejection because I felt like, well, now I don't belong. And obviously I'm not good enough. I'm not good. Maybe I'm not good enough to be your father. Maybe you wanted somebody else to be your father. Maybe you need somebody else to be your father. And at the core for me of my rejection was the fact that I wasn't good enough. I'm bothered by it because I don't feel like I belong. And I don't feel like I belong because I feel disconnected. And I feel disconnected because guess what? I don't feel like I'm good enough. And then, there are married couples who will come to me with different questions. And, I provide like soul care coaching. So, I'll talk to couples in premarital sessions and marital sessions and stuff like that. And if you want to get in on that, you can actually go to my Instagram, and there's a drop down link. You can fill out the form and stuff like that. And if it meshes and you want to rock out that way, you can. I provide soul care coaching that way. But nevertheless, I've talked to married couples, right? And And the married couples, they'll say, I feel rejected by my husband. The wife is saying, I feel rejected by him. And so why do you feel rejected by him? Well, I don't feel like he likes the way that I look. And, why do you feel that way? And she says, because, when I do wear something, I feel like it's sexy. He doesn't compliment me. And oftentimes, now there are very, very righteous reasons as to why. And then we have the conversation. It comes out, she's absolutely right. He doesn't say anything because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. But there are some times where, it's like I want them to verbalize the reason why they feel rejected. And the reason being is because oftentimes rejection doesn't respond to reasoning. Like the reasoning may not be that maybe it's not the fact that he's just not paying attention to you in the moment because he has a one-track mind and he's thinking about something else. Or maybe he's thinking about a lot of different things going on right now. He's thinking about the grass needs to be cut. He's thinking about the gas bill needs to be paid. He's thinking about, gas is going up. He's thinking about this. He's thinking about that. He's thinking about, I need to go outside and clean the gutters. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to put up those solar panels on top of the roof that I kept saying I was going to do. I need to clean out the garage. I need to go work out. I need to eat some food. I need to do this. I need to do that. He's thinking about all this stuff. And the one thing you're focused on in the moment is your body dysphoria and how you feel like you look in this nightgown. And now you're disgusted with yourself because, maybe you don't look the same way that you used to when you were 21. And you're wondering because some of the stuff is expanded and some of the stuff is drooped a little bit. And I mean, that's what happens. I mean, you keep a car over a period of time, no matter how much you take care of it, it's going to start to show a little wear and tear. Maybe you start to show a little wear and tear. It just proves that you just aged. That's what fine wine does, y'all. It's going to age. If it stays long, if it stay living, it's going to age a little bit. But now you're starting to get into body dysphoria. And now, you're saying that his silence, or even the other way around. I've sat with married couples and I have realized something. A lot of times we assume that, the reason why, it's the husband's not saying anything to the wife. But I have encountered more men, guys, who have said to me, I don't feel comfortable with my wife. Like I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable engaging my wife because I don't think she finds me attractive. He feels rejected. I've had husbands who said, I only want to have sex in the dark because I feel rejected by her. I don't feel like I'm enough for her. I don't feel like she gets everything from her. Then you got some women who I've sat in rooms with who just tell them, no, you ain't enough for me. And I have not orgasmed one time when I'm having sex with him. And he hears that and he immediately thinks, okay, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And oftentimes what happens with that not enough, it just leads us into that place of just emotional pain. Now, one thing I want y'all to feel, I do not want y'all to feel rejected by food. Come on now. I don't want y'all to feel rejected by food, which is why, my wife and I, we are so grateful for one of our sponsors, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a valued partner of this podcast. And, with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip all the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I don't know about y'all, but I go down to buy the grocery store and it's like, I pick up the same old things, but it never fails. I get home and I'm like, crap, I forgot the garlic, or crap, I forgot this, or crap, I forgot that. Isn't it just good? When you come home from work, or you come home from whatever you're doing, you walk in and there it is. It's a pre-portioned meal. And I mean, our pre-portioned meals, it's what, 5 of us? And our pre-portioned meal can feed all of us. Can I tell y'all, it feed all of us plus some extra left over, which is amazing. But this pre-portioned meal is already there. Everything is already packaged. And then they give you the instructions. The cool thing is my wife will come to me, or I will go in there and I'll fix it for myself and I'll look at it and it ain't hard. They got a picture of it. It's almost like, which one you want, that one or that one? I'm going to eat that one. And then I just make that one and I make it exactly how I look on the picture. And I have never had a HelloFresh meal that I did not like. That is the great thing about it. And another great thing is, with me being a carnivore, my wife being vegan, and my kids being vegetarian, everybody in the house do something. HelloFresh has an ability to be able to take care of everybody in the household. You can skip the grocery store, spend more time at home. It's a foolproof step-by-step recipe. So if you're a single guy, you don't have time to be doing all the other stuff going to the grocery store. I mean, y'all are professionals. Shoot, get HelloFresh, get it sitting right there to your house. I mean, that is the way to do it, all right? So go to HelloFresh.com/LWL16 and use code LWL16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Come, you in this economy with the inflation rate at 10, go to HelloFresh.com. Listen to me. Go to HelloFresh.com/LWL16 and use code LWL16 and you'll get 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Yo, this is America's #1 meal kit. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're getting 16 doggone free meals and you're getting 3 gifts. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/LWL16. Pause this podcast right now. I'm going to wait. Pause it. HelloFresh.com/LWL16 and use code LWL16 for 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. But rejection. That Sting of Rejection, it does not leave easy. And one of the biggest things that I found out about rejection, especially relates to me, is that whenever I feel rejected by my wife, or I feel rejected by someone, or I feel rejected by something, it leads to fault finding in myself, where I will start to find my inadequacies, and then I will highlight my inadequacies in order to prove that I'm not good enough. So I will believe that is the reason why this happened. The reason why I was rejected was because of this. And it was because of this, and because of whatever this thing is, that helps to prove that I'm not good enough. If I was good enough, then I would not have been rejected, which in reality, because you got to remember, rejection doesn't respond to reasoning. In reality, the reasoning was I didn't get invited because the person just forgot and they busy and they got a lot of other things to do. And that's okay. Because I remember one time I was sitting, I was with my therapist, right? And my therapist was like, tell me about a time where you were rejected by a friend. And I was like, yeah, well, my friend was going bowling, which this is a true thing. My friend was going bowling, right? And I was like, I didn't back then. I don't think they had Instagram. It was just Facebook. And I just so happened to go on Facebook, and my friend at the time, I was single, and he was bowling, and he had like a group of other guys with him, and there was one other guy that I knew who was also there, and I was like, well, he hadn't known him that long. Like, why didn't I get invited to go bowling? And it happened years ago, and I still remembered it. And my therapist was like, well, let's talk about it. Let's go through that. He said, why do you feel the way you felt? And I said, I felt like, I've been there for him, and for him just not to invite me and just overlook me, it made me feel like how I've always felt, that I've always felt overlooked, that this person didn't even consider me. He didn't consider my thoughts. He didn't even ask me, give me the ability to decline. And we just went over it. About 20 minutes into it, my therapist said to me, he said, Cornelius, let me ask you a question. He said, even if you were invited, he said, would you have gone? And I said, no, I wasn't going to go. And he was like, ultimately, I told him, I said, at least give me the option to decline, But even when he asked the question, I thought to myself, like, man, because again, rejection does not respond to reasoning. I thought, why in the world did I want to belong so bad? Why in the world did I want to be included so bad? What part of me felt like I needed that in order to feel valued? What part of me felt like me being there was going to make me feel better about me? And again, I can go back to the place where I wanted to belong. But the cool thing about belonging that I've learned for me is that belonging is if I give somebody else all of the authority to make me feel valued, then at some point I'm not going to feel valued because they have too much authority. It even happens in marriage. where in my marriage, if I give my wife all of the authority to make me feel valued, to make me feel valuable, then she has way too much authority. Now, that does not mean that she does not work to make me feel valued, and I work to make her feel valued. Absolutely. We're in this together. But I cannot put all of the eggs and just make it seem like, man, she has to bend over backwards to make me feel like I'm valuable and I'm important. I have to be secure enough in me and reasonable enough, again, to be secure enough and reasonable enough to believe that she's not rejecting me in this moment. That's not what she's doing. And even if she is rejecting me, then let me be secure enough to ask her, hey, babe, is there something about me in this moment right now that's keeping you from engaging me? Is there something that you feel that's something we can talk about? Or even having that conversation with a quote unquote friend. Hey, is there a reason why you felt as though you didn't invite me to this? I just wanted to know. And when, I started to get secure, I was starting to have those conversations. I pull people to the side and I say, hey, is there a reason why you felt as though this was important to exclude me from? I'm not saying I wanted to go, and very well I would not have gone. I just wanted to know. And they say, Cornelius, I know you wasn't going to show up anyway. You right. And then I would say, well, I wish I would have just had the opportunity to decline. But again, even given the opportunity, what's the reasoning to invite somebody to some place if you already know that you're gonna decline, and I'm gonna decline? Like, you ain't got don't print me an invitation. You ain't got to print it. Don't waste the paper. Don't waste the paper. Send me a text message just so I can ignore that. And see, that's part of rejection. The quiet game that we play in marriage. I was reading a study about the quiet game, ignoring your partner, ignoring your friends. And did you know that ignoring someone triggers the same part of your brain as a physical altercation? Meaning that you are doing the same amount of physical abuse against your partner when you are silent against them. It's as if you hit them, because you're just silent. Like my wife and I, we tell this story how we were newly married. We had gotten back from the honeymoon. We're both living in the house. This is brand new to us. Now I'm like, what the heck? 'Cause I've been living alone in this house by myself, and now she's moved in. She's changed everything. She's introduced me to lotion, to lotions that got smells in them. She's introduced me to candles. She's introduced me to curtains. She's introduced me to duvets. I didn't know what no doggone duvet was. Duvet. I didn't know duvet. I didn't know a duvet. I mean, no, I had a 3-in-1 men's body wash. All right. Like it took care of everything: hair, body, skin, nails, everything. Like I had a toothbrush. Like, I had a couple forks, a couple spoons, and a couple knives, and a couple plates. And I only needed one of them. I ain't need a lot of them. She's introduced me to all this different stuff. So we get into an argument, and she decides she's going to leave. So I'm in the bonus room at the time. It's a man cave. I'm in the man cave, and I'm watching TV. So when she left, of course, I didn't hear when she left. And at the time, her car was parked outside the garage, so it's not like I heard the garage underneath the man cave. She left, and I'm watching TV, so the whole time I'm thinking she's still here. So after about 35 minutes, I'm like, well, we got to talk about this. So I call her. We're in the same house, but I call her just to kind of, I'm calling her name, like, hey, where you at? And she's nowhere to be found. I go downstairs, she's not there. I go outside, her car is gone. So now I call her on the phone. I'm calling her, missed call, leaving her messages, sending her text messages. I go back upstairs, I go into our bedroom, and her phone is sitting right there on the bed. And I'm pissed. I'm mad as hell. So she comes in the house, and I'm like, where'd you go? And she's like, oh, I went to the movies. And I said, so why didn't you take your phone? She's like, I didn't need my phone. I didn't need my phone. And I was like, I just looked at her and I said, hey, it's my responsibility now as your husband to take care of you. It's my responsibility now as your husband to protect you. I can't protect you if I don't know where you are. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't care if we mad. I don't care what happened. I don't care how mad we are at each other. my responsibility is to protect you. And if you gone, I can't protect you. If I don't have a way to contact you, I can't protect you. And I said that in the most calm voice I possibly could. And at that point, she was afraid because she like, yo, he way too calm for me. And I just left. And ultimately, like, we laugh about it now because she's like, yo, I left that phone on the bed because I wanted you to see that you weren't going to contact me. But it is the physical. It is like a physical confrontation. And in that moment, you feel rejected. Like, well, why did you leave the phone? Why didn't you contact me? Why weren't you answering your phone? So that rejection is very real. So my encouragement to each and every one of you is to go back. I know there's a couple of things that I mentioned, especially, being able to sit back and say, well, why do I feel this way? And am I giving people way too much power to make me feel valuable? Why don't I feel valuable? Or why don't I feel valuable? I would encourage you to contact BetterHelp and being able to go sit down and talk with a therapist to talk about some of your childhood trauma so that you can deal with your rejection that you felt as a kid. And the reason why the dating pool right now, everybody talks about is that people are like, oh, it's trash. The reason why it's so trash is because people aren't dealing with their trauma. And nowadays, it's a lot harder for people to hide it because we're getting smarter now. We're talking about therapy. We're talking about soul care, and people aren't dealing with it. And so you got to deal with your crap. You got to deal with your junk. And it's just no other way around it. If you're married, you got to deal with the rejection that you two feel in your marriage. You got to deal with some of the things that you guys have said to each other. My wife and I had to sit down and we had to talk about some of the things we have said to each other that was mean, below the belt. You hit below the belt on that one, and we had to talk about it. And it's important for y'all to have those conversations. You got to talk about it with your family. I felt rejected by you, and this is what I felt. You got to talk about it with your friends that you're just trying to sweep under the rug because you have an anxious attachment and you're afraid that this person's going to leave you. Like, hell, whatever. We're going to talk about this. Why you do that? That hurt me. I ain't sweeping this under. I'm not sweeping nothing under the rug no more. We're going to deal with it. And if that person doesn't want to deal with it, you can't make them deal with it. But at least you've discussed it. You've communicated. They don't want to deal with it. Now it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to grieve. And I have to grieve the fact that I have to end this relationship because I know that it's not healthy for me because while I'm telling you my feelings, you do not value them. Woo! I tell y'all what. Yo, next week I hope to be able to have my wife to come join me again. She'll be back here to join me. Yeah, but yo, I hope y'all got something out of this today. Yo, y'all know we thank y'all so much for always rocking with us. Make sure y'all review. Make sure y'all leave us them 5 stars. Review, tell everybody else, tell your family, your friends, be like, yo, I just heard this podcast about rejection, and yo, you need to hear this because you be rejecting me. I'm about to reject you, shout it. So don't reject me when I tell you about this message on rejection, shout it. So they do reject you about it. Just don't feel bad. Don't give them that kind of power. Remember, you're giving out of gratitude. And when I've learned how to do things out of gratitude, I don't feel rejected about it later on when I don't feel like something comes back towards me. Especially my relationship with God. It's like, no, God, I'm giving this out of gratitude, out of everything you've done for me. So if I don't feel like I received anything back from it, I'm still grateful. I don't feel rejected. So y'all, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. Again, if you want that soul care coaching, all that kind of good stuff, it's on my page. This is Cornelius on Instagram. My wife is Heather L. Love. Also, if you're married out there, you want to come to our marriage retreat, we still got a couple more spots. Make sure you get in where you fit in. You can go to our you can also go to our Instagram pages. This is Cornelius and also Heather L. Love. Get in where you fit in, man. Hey, yo, y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking with us. Introduces. I'm out. Peace. Bye.